Marcus, thank you so much for joining me today. It's a pleasure to sit down with you in your living room and taste some wine. You've left your full-time job recently, and you've focused on this business, but you've been running it a lot longer. Talk me through how long you've been running this business and then how things have changed since focusing on it full-time.
So Gonzo Vino started in 2017 with the first vintage being released in 2018. While I was working full-time as a sommelier in a hotel and as a food and beverage manager in the same space. And in the beginning, it wasn't even anything. Like, it was a one wine brand packaged into soft, flexible packaging with no direction and no money and no marketing and no idea what to do with it. And it's kind of spiraled out of control into this beast of leading the alt packaging wine segment on the boutique scale, where now we make 50,000 litres of wine. We've got 13 wines in box. We've got 2 wines in can. We export all across the world. And now it's kind of like, okay, we've got a thing on our hands, and that's why we go full time.
Why do you think people are interested in your product? Like, what is it in the wine market that people are really wanting that you're providing?
Anecdotally, people have said to me so many times, whether it's at a public event tasting or at a trade tasting or in a bottle shop tasting, they go, I've been waiting so long to drink wine in cask that's not terrible, that's not commercialized or industrialized, that, you know, they've said that they know it's such a good vessel for everyday, you know, consumers. And being the first to the market with premium box wine was the key to our long-term success, I think. And then once you unpack all the USPs on the sustainability, the reduction in packaging costs, you put cool designs on it, like, it's just a Pandora's box once you open it. There are so many things people are attracted to.
And your background is obviously dealing with high-end wine as well. You've dealt so much in the wine industry.
Yeah.
The liquid in it must be pretty good as well. So
yeah,
I'd love to hear a little bit more around how you actually go about choosing the sort of wine that goes in the box.
Yeah. So one thing that I was really mindful of is that, you know, these boxes aren't cheap on the market. You know, they retail on our website for $66. Retailers around Australia have them on for, you know, $75 to $85. In Singapore, they're $200 retail. Like, it's crazy.
Wow.
So there's not a lot of room for error when you're convincing people to spend that kind of money on cask wine and then it'd be terrible. So you really need to be careful on what you put in it and be really strict on what you put in it. So the process is partnering with growers. We don't own vineyards, we don't grow fruit, but we buy fruit from growers that we trust that farm organically, sustainably. They don't use systemic and synthetic sprays. Everything's, you know, picked by hand where possible. And in the winery, it's all about stressful winemaking. You know, we don't throw additives at the wine to fix problems. And it's all about just having a watchful eye on the wines all the time. And presenting the wines in a really simplistic way so that when people put them in the mouth, they go, oh, yum, which I hope is your reaction when we get tasting in a minute. But when you do put them in front of, you know, my friends and wine nerds and sommeliers and wine buyers and wine journalists and all these people that have all this knowledge, that when you unpack all the detail, there's a lot to unpack. And it's not all hyperbole in it. Like, it's all genuine, high quality data points through the winemaking process from start to finish that make the wine delicious and good and high quality.
Mm. Marcus, who's actually deciding to drink Cardbordeaux or premium boxed wine?
Everyone is everyone. And it's surprising, you know, when you see where these wines are going. The biggest group of drinkers that we find in a really, really simplistic way are females, and they're a group of people that are in the age group between 24, 25, up to around 35, 36 is when we start seeing that age group change. Mm-hmm. And then from there, the actual age group gets older instead of younger, which is very surprising to me. But the people that are buying them across the board, regardless of gender or age, is people that are generally interested in social sciences, they're interested in social change, they're interested in politics. And all of this data is pulled through our online sales, which is still a massive part of our business. So we are harvesting a huge amount of data, whether people like that or they don't like that, that's a different thing. But it allows us to really push these wines into the right areas and in front of the right people. Because these wines have so many interesting points behind them, it allows us to to segment the market and put our efforts in multiple places. So, with our designs on the boxes, the designs are awesome. I love them. Jim Grimwade's our designer. He's a legend, local guy. And people buy these boxes just for the art, and they don't give a shit about wine. And they drink it and they go, oh, actually, that's delicious. Oh, I'll buy another one. And they like that. Some people don't care about the artwork. They're actually wine nerds. They just buy it because they think it's delicious wine. And then you get some people who buy it because they've heard about the insane eco-friendliness of boxed wine over bottled wine. So they're buying it for the eco side of it. Some people buy it because they're only going camping, or they go to music festivals, or they go fishing, or they whatever. So it's crazy. You've got people who are retirees that are going overlanding around Australia, and they want to chuck a box in and don't want to deal with broken glass. Everyone is buying for a different reason.
We've certainly seen a lot in that grow over recent years, particularly with COVID. We won't talk about COVID too much, but the sort of trends that have evolved from that time, people wanting to do things locally as well, and going for the focus on sustainability. I can definitely see that you've played into that trend as well. I'm interested in how you accumulate that sort of data that you've mentioned, just in a little bit more detail.
So the data originally was built and farmed through paid online social advertising, which is the most common way to do it. And we can gather a large amount of data very quickly through that. And we had a really good, actually, they right around the corner from here, a local ad agency that ran our ad programs for a couple of years, and that really built the framework of where our wines fit in the market really, really well. And then from there, we've broadened out to do more face-to-face tastings as the world's opened up, and we can do face-to-face tastings with the general public. And every year we do an event called the Big Design Market, which is in Sydney and in Melbourne. 30,000 people go through the doors over 3 days, and you get to show the wines to so many people so quickly and get a real one-on-one experience with them, and see their facial expressions and read people and see the body language and really judge, or have them judge the wines in front of you and say, yeah, I really like this, or I'm not such a fan of Riesling, but I actually really like this one. And so I think having multiple sources of data, especially having one major one that's real world, that's not, because online data can be skewed in certain ways depending on how you set up your ad frames, but those face-to-face tastings have almost overtaken the digital data, I think, in terms of importance.
I mean, a lot of. I used to work as a booze rep, and getting liquid on lips is something that we would talk about a lot.
Yep.
I can imagine that's it.
That's
you're playing into that. People
that's
have
it.
to taste it.
Yeah, they do.
What's your biggest critique that people have? My first guess is the price, but is that that's my guess? But obviously there are people who want to buy it. It's good product, good liquid. So I'm wondering what other feedback might be.
The biggest hurdle is still that it is cask wine. That is the biggest hurdle by far. And we mentioned trade tastings and doing public event tastings. People will walk past this far away from me and look at it and then go, ooh, gross, cask wine. And then just keep walking. And I'm like, man, I'm right here.
Wow.
And not even be open to even tasting and think that it's something so repulsive in the market that it doesn't even warrant a fraction of their time. That's difficult. But, over the years, you kind of learn to just kind of, brush it off, and there's going to be someone else come along that's going to really like it. But price is probably the second one for sure. But when you break it down, and then the USPs of, this is a 3-litre box. How many bottles? Well, that's 4 bottles. If I open it, how long does it last? 2 months. 2 months? Really? Mate, just chuck it in the fridge and have a glass when you want a glass. All of a sudden, that $66 is not $66. It's $16. And you're only buying one thing for the course of the month, and whatever it might be. So a little bit of education goes a long way, but you need to stop short of being preachy.
We're seeing a lot of change in packaging and with that sustainability movement as well. So I can imagine that it's just a matter of time before those things shift as well. And I wonder if you're feeling the same thing, or if you're probably hoping for the same thing.
Yeah.
So my personal opinion on it is that it's just a matter of time before that changes anyway, and you'll stop having those people walk past. But that's just me.
Yeah. And I think every year I have the same conversation with my partner. Gets towards the packaging date of all the wines are in tank, they're all done, they're all ready to go. And it's this monumental task, and there's a lot of money flowing out of the business, and there's usually not a lot of money coming in at that time of year, and it's super stressful. And every year, without fail, I come home and I go, I'm not fucking doing cask wine anymore. We're doing bottles. Maybe I should just bottle it this year. And she says the same thing. She goes, you say this every year. Just do the cask. Shut up. Get on with it. Like, you're not doing bottles. And I'm like, okay, good. And then we get through the packaging, and then they hit the market, and the pre-sales go through the roof, and the distributors been crying out for more wine because we've been sold out for so long. The exporters, so the importers for our export market are crying out for more wine. You go, okay, I'm not stressing. I'm stressing about nothing here. Like, that's crazy. And every year, more and more players come into the market on cask wine, on green skin out of Western Australia, which is these flexible packaging things. I had a look at this cardboard wine bottle thing out of the UK that's just got this amazing product launch that's just happened. There are so many players in the market, and it's not so much that it's turning, but it has turned the corner of acceptability. But I don't think anyone really knows what to do with it still yet. But it's here in a big way. It's not going anywhere.
Marcus, today we're talking about the Cardbordeaux cask that you have. I love the word. Just the concept of this word, Cardbordeaux, this premium wine cask. It's obviously a consumer product. What are you doing in and around the on-prem? I understand you're doing something in that space too. Yeah,
so our 3-litre casks primarily go direct to consumer. And then there is a little bit of on-prem that pour them by the glass and things like that. But it's not a huge part of our game. But what is a big part of our game for on-prem is kegs. So we partner with Key Keg, which is a plastic PET fully recyclable keg that's already made from 30% recycled plastic with a Mylar bag inside it. And those are 30 litres. So, they hold 200 glasses of wine. And they're incredibly high-level technology to put wine in for long-term storage. And it allows bars to put a wine on by the glass at, really, really high quality at a really, really, really reasonable price, because you don't have packaging costs involved, and you don't have freight involved and all these kinds of things. And they can pour something by the glass.
Not to mention operational issues as well in the venue. I mean, processing glass, they've got to do something with that glass as well.
Yeah.
So
and a lot of bars that are now going 100% keg, getting away from bottles completely. So Good Measure in Lygon Street in Carlton, they've been pouring out rosé on keg for 2 years now. They don't have a single packaged product at all in the whole place. Cafe by night, wine by day, wine bar by night, and they do everything: beer, wine, spirits, cocktails, mixers, everything. Everything comes out of bulk packaging on a really high-end level, which is awesome. And then you've got other people like Canva who pick up our pet nat in a keg and they pour it at their events in-house in Sydney. So, you've got less training on the staff, you've got less waste to pick up, you've got less glass going into landfill, you've got less, service points to train, you've got lower cost of goods. Where's the problem? There is none, except market adoption.
Ready to taste?
Yeah, let's do it. This is what I do best. So we're going to start with this guy here. This is our 2023 Zibbibo. So Zibbibo is a fun little white grape variety. I'm just going to do a little reach through here.
Yeah, we'll do that in front of the camera there for you.
Look at that, easy.
Perfect, thank you.
Perfect. So Zibbibo is a white grape variety. Originally, it comes from the Middle East. It's part of the Muscat family.
Do we need to aerate this?
I would.
Because it's sitting in the bag.
Not so much for the bag. But all wine, when it comes out of packaging, needs
any packaging.
Just needs a little bit of air, because it's a really reductive environment. There's no oxygen in it at all. You find sometimes that the chemical compounds and the esters and the flavanols and all this kind of stuff are really shut down, and the wines can sometimes look a little bit flat or a little bit one-dimensional or a little bit stinky, or something's not right, and a little bit of just throwing around in the glass, whether you do it in a good swirl or you just give it a shake or whatever. It really wakes up the nose, really gets it pumping. But this is a really fun grape variety, part of the Muscat family, hyper aromatic. These wines always smell like lemongrass, ginger, stone fruit, lots of peach, lots of nectarine, that kind of thing.
Definitely smelling that.
Yeah. And people kind of put their nose in it. And this is like a Vegemite wine. People love it or people hate it. There's not many people in the middle. And a lot of people smell it and go, no, I don't like sweet wine. But when you drink it, it's not what you think.
Let's give it a crack.
Yeah, have a suck on it and see what you reckon.
Oh, I do see what you mean.
So,
Wow, it's
Bing.
that tart.
super tart.
Yeah.
It's like, for me, when you drink it, it's like the bells on The Price is Right when you win going off. It's like bing, bing, bing,
I
bing,
like
bing,
it.
bing, 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 bing on
It's
the
like
palate.
zing.
Yeah, super
I
zing.
feel like it's zing. Like that's definitely the word that describes it to me.
For sure. And, you know, this wine is a perfect wine for today. You know, like it's beaming with sun. It's like 24 degrees. It's a little bit balmy, a little bit humid, and it is so refreshing as a wine. And this, call up some mates, guys, let's go to the park, kick the footy, whatever. Take the cask, couple of plastic cups, boom, boom, boom. Like this is a park wine. This is a sunshine wine, balcony, happy days.
Awesome.
No, this is a no fuss wine. But a great variety that doesn't see a huge amount of value in Australia. You know, the big guys, Yalumba, De Bordeley, Berry, Stanley, you know, all these guys have been buying Gordo, Zibbibo. So Gordo is the name that the grape growers call it. It's got a lot of synonyms, this one. But they've been buying Zibbibo for decades and decades, and it goes into making terrible, cheap, $2 bottles of wine, or it goes into their really heavy bulk cask wines. And we get this from a vineyard that's really old, in the Riverland. It's farmed properly. It's picked properly. It doesn't have any industrial chemicals sprayed all over it. And the result is a wine that is pure and fresh and vibrant and light and easy to drink and not fussy, and refreshing. Like, this is sort of wine you drink and it makes you smile. You're like, yum.
That's great. I really like that. Definitely zing. Almost like a margarita. It's like that sort of sourness, that tart sourness. Ready for the next one, Marcus?
All right, let's do it. So the next one is going to be our biggest selling red that we do by a country mile. This is called Splishy Splashy. And the grape variety for this is Tinta Barocca. So
lift it up there.
Yeah, away from the couch.
Cheers.
So it's a funny one, this one. You know, like this is a grape variety that originally comes from Portugal. And it's only been in Australia a fairly short amount of time on a commercial scale. It's maybe been in Australia 25 years, maybe 30 years. But even now, it's still fairly unknown as a variety. For some reason, it's our biggest selling wine. And I don't know the last person in the world who walked into a bottle shop or a restaurant and said, let's drink Tinta Barocca tonight. Like, that's not even part of... Even me as a wine nerd who's drunk everything.
Do people want Splishy Splashy? Is that what they're after?
People want Splishy Splashy, and you know, for the
They
people
want the name.
And for the people that are wondering, yes, it's named for black books. When you know they you know finish their wine at home, and when the glass is empty, they just yell out Splishy Splashy, and someone comes over and tops it up.
Very good.
But this is our chilled red. So this is our original chilled red that we started making in 2021, and it's just become a little bit more refined year on year. And we always describe it as being, air quotes, very Portuguese, plummy, dark, spicy, rustic, savoury. It's got a little bit of chalky texture to it.
Yum.
Hey,
I can see why that's a top seller.
that's what we aim to do.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah. You got it. You got it.
Gotcha. That's what we aim, literally, to make wines that make you say yum when you drink them. And make you go, oh, let's have another one. Let's have another glass.
I could definitely have another glass.
And there's plenty of times, you know, and I'm sure you've done it, I've done it, you know, and I've accidentally done it to people in restaurants when I was selling wine in restaurants, you know. You oversell a bottle to someone, or you go to the bottle shop, you spend $60 on a bottle, you pull the cork or crack the cap, pour a glass, and you go, is it good? Is it worth it? I don't know. Is it? Is it not? Game over. Fail. Next. No thanks. Like, these wines are meant to be the opposite. You put them in the mouth and you go, oh, yeah, love that. And, you know, this wine's been doing that for 3 years now. Super happy with it.
All right, Marcus, ready for number 3?
Let's do it. So number 3 is going to be Soul Control. So Soul Control is a really interesting wine. This is made using Mataro. And in Australia, Mataro is
in a blend.
Well,
With
yeah,
Northern, isn't it?
yeah, exactly. Or people don't know what it is. And then when you say it's the M and the GSM, they go, oh, okay, yum, awesome. But you should have more recognition than it does because it's one of the most planted grape varieties in Australia. And it ends up in everything, even if they don't tell you it's in there.
Interesting. Because, I mean, people have had the G, they've had the S.
Yep.
This is the M.
This is the M.
Yeah.
But it's not the M that people would recognise.
No.
People that have drunk 100% Mataros before generally remember them or expect them to be jet black, inky, high alcohol, lots of oak, very aggressive. And aggressive when you drink them means lots of tannin, very dry on the palate. But for this one, when you put it in the glass, you'll see straight away it's the complete opposite.
Also away from the couch.
Yeah. Yes. With this, for people that are used to drinking Mataro, you can see in the colour, like it's so bright and vibrant. It's got almost like a raspberry red kind of colour to it, or like a wild strawberry kind of colour. Like it's very, very anti-Mataro in its style.
What's making it do that instead?
So I make 13 wines, 6 reds, 6 whites, and a rosé. And the theme with all of the whites is to make them heavier than the reds. That's kind of the idea. So the whites, the extended skin maceration to pull phenolics and structure and texture and earthiness and flavonols into the body of the wine. Then all the reds, we try to macerate them for the shortest amount of time that's humanly possible to get a delicious wine. So normally with Mataro, you'd be macerating and the skin and the juice together for a month, 40 days, something like that, and you'll end up with that classic jet black ink, super extracted, dark, heavy, blackcurrant kind of flavour.
And that's where the tannin comes from as well.
That's definitely where the tannin comes from as well. And with all of our reds, I think this Mataro was extracted for like 6 days instead of a month. Okay. So we're getting like way less opportunity for the grapes to pull colour. And what it does is it gives us this really sharp line of acidity through the palate. It allows them to be served at a cooler temperature without them becoming completely closed down. But it captures all this really nice high-toned aromatic across the top of the wine, where this is sort of wine, or all of them in the range, I find, that you can just smell and smell and smell. And you just go, and it's like, oh my God, that's so interesting. It's so nice and so lovely. And then you forget, you're like, oh fuck, I'm actually meant to be drinking it. So I think that's awesome. And short extraction times on red wines is so underrated, but so suited to box wine. Because I think a lot of people are drinking these on the go, whether it's picnic, park, camping, hiking, whatever it might be, being active at a festival or just on the balcony, or festive season, plonk it on the table. Like, who wants to drink super serious, super extracted, rich, heavy, dark red wines when you're hiking? Like, that's crazy. Let's drink something fun and easy and relatively low ABV. All of our wines are low ABV. They're 10, 11%. Like, not low.
Lower than your 15
lower
Shirazes,
than,
right?
Lower than Barossa Shiraz. Yeah.
I like that. I can't pick my favourite of the 3, to be honest with you. I think it might be this one.
Yeah.
I thought it was the first, Le Freak, but I think it's this. I think it's Soul Control.
This wine in the range, I think, is a super dark horse. Like, this one, every year, I'm kind of like, do we make more of it? Do we not? Like, it sells out, which is great, but it is one of the slower movers in the market. But this year, this is the best one that we've ever made. And I was every time I drink it, I'm so much more attracted to it. Like, it's so much more pure and put together and firm on the palate. But it's still Mataro. And Mataro is a bit wet dog, a bit horsey, a bit barnyardy on the nose. It's always going to have that rusticity and earth. But the palate is not that. It's framed so nicely. It's so fresh and so vibrant. It's delicious. Delicious. And if you gave that to anyone in a glass without the packaging present, they would have no idea.
Know. Yeah, they
no idea.
Would not know. Hey?
No idea. And I think that's kind of, it's kind of a key to getting broad market adoption in markets that aren't really that accommodating towards alternative packaging, giving them wines that they don't expect